It's Neil Berliner and Al Martin, and we need a name for our show, Al. Oh no.
Well, why don't we have people send us their suggestions for the name?
That's a good idea.
Yes, and that way we have audience involvement. All three people can get involved.
So it's Al Martin, who's a well-known comedian and comedy club owner. You know, he owns the Broadway and Greenwich Village comedy clubs in the city for decades. It's Al Martin and me. I'm Neil Berliner. I'm a comedy person. I think I've been in the comedy field for a while. I've written for roasts and stuff like that. We decided we're down here in Florida, and we need something to do besides pickleball. We decided, well, a podcast. That came to mind. And today we have a really good guest. We're not going to bring her on yet. We're going to torture her a few more minutes before we let her on this.
I hope she's still awake by the time we get to her, because
yeah, well, it's Florida and it's noon, so that means dinner is coming up in a few hours.
we got to pick up the pace here.
Exactly. So, what do you have to say about all this?
I'm saying, what am I doing here? No, listen. We're getting off a podcast off the ground. We have a lot of great ideas for it. Obviously, we weren't totally prepared right now, but you're not supposed to know that out there in radio land and podcast land, you know?
What I thought we would do is, I thought maybe I would listen to other podcasts, go to successful comedy podcasts and see what they're doing and what they're talking about, because I'm too lazy to do it myself.
Yeah.
But then I was too lazy to even do that.
I got even a better idea. Why don't we just simulcast Mark Maron's podcast right onto here and go grab lunch?
Exactly. Exactly. That's the best idea yet. Thanks, everyone. And it's been nice knowing you. All right. So
no, I think what we want to cover is we want to talk about a lot of stuff in terms of our title. We were thinking about the title we were thinking about.
Yeah. Well, one title we came up with was the Stand Up Taller podcast, because we wanted to elevate the profession of stand-up comedy. And also, Al is over 6 feet and I'm barely 5 feet. So I would like to stand up taller myself. So I
think it's a great name.
That's a great name. Peter, that's the one we didn't use. Okay. So yeah. So what we wound up deciding is that Al and I, what we basically wanted to do each week was eat lunch somewhere. So we decided to change it from a comedy name to the Florida Fun and Food Podcast, with the food being the emphasis, possibly. That
right. Work, right? And one of the things we should think about is, instead of tighten it up a little bit and get the Florida out of there, when you just say Florida, you're segmenting yourself into Florida. Let's go big.
Well, yeah, but why do we limit ourselves to the United States, Al?
I say let's go to Ethiopia, Ghana, and find the best restaurants. Do they have restaurants in Ethiopia?
Yeah, well, this is going to be a great weight loss program for both of us if we do that. If we go to Ethiopia, although I hear they do have good early birds there.
Yeah, actual early birds.
Al gets the credit for the best laugh so far for this podcast. So, how many minutes are we in? Because we have a lot of time to fill. But podcasts are hard, Al. 5 minutes. Oh, that's all? Oh, my God.
That's it.
I got an idea. Let's go to our interview with our guest, and then we can fill in stuff around it.
Yeah.
Later on.
That sounds good.
Why keep her waiting?
Exactly.
She's probably wondering what the hell she's doing here with two farts trying to figure out their show, which we probably should have done before we got here 10 minutes early.
Yeah, but Al, all the other shows are figured out. So this is a unique situation for
right. Listen, didn't one of the greatest comedians of all time do a show about nothing?
I believe so.
Jerry something or other, right? His show was about nothing.
Who is that person?
And Larry David. They did a show about nothing. Isn't he your fellow alumni from the now defunct Sheepshead Bay High School?
Oh, no. Yeah, Larry David. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sheepshead Bay High School, yeah, we had Larry David.
Joey Novick.
Joey Novick. You named him second. And then Michelle Ballin.
Yes.
And Jim Williams and Robin Siegel-Lakin, who was originally in the first big thing was Saturday Night Fever. She was in the film. Then she went on to become a doctor. And then she went on to become a comedian, an actress.
Yeah, and she runs a ladies' comedy festival
at your club.
Right, but she's not the guest. Let's get to our guest.
Yeah.
Madison, I'm so sorry. Let's introduce.
When you have two guests with attention deficit disorder, this kind of thing can happen.
Yeah.
But let's get to the guests.
Okay. Madison Malloy is a fantastic, multi-talented person. Okay. She's out of New York City. I met her about, I guess, 10, 15 years ago. And her background is, well, she started as a Wall Street, a financial person, and she did very well on Wall Street. But then, and she'll get into this, but she felt maybe somewhat unfulfilled being rich and, a superstar on Wall Street. And then she decided to become a comedian because she had that, that thing that we all have, that we
Yeah,
need to.
the need to totally throw your life for a curveball.
Exactly. And be poor and all that stuff. And so she went on to become a comedian in New York and across the country. And then she went on to actually become a host for many things. She has her own podcast, but that wasn't enough. So Madison decided to recently write a book, a self-help book, and it's all the way up the charts on Amazon, like instantly. And I was one of the first Madison to buy this book. Like, I think the second day it was out, I bought it. And I don't read books. Like, Al, you can ask my wife. I don't read. I'm not a reader. But I picked up her book and it was like really interesting. I really enjoyed it.
Well, I'm going to get it because I like reading books about people that create their own opportunities and people that are successful without anybody necessarily, handing it to them. So I love those kind of stories, and I definitely, if it's still available, I want to get a copy too.
And also the thing about Madison is
It's selling so well.
she defines success like very, very well. She didn't define success as just being financial.
Right.
She needed much more than that. And let's start with, well, let's introduce her. Here's Madison Malloy. How you doing, Madison?
Good. I'm so excited to be on the first episode of your podcast. I'm so honored.
Well, yeah, I mean, we picked a very good guest for the first guest, and it'll be all downhill from here. But I guess first give the people the title of your book. It's called "Time to Lighten the Fuck Up." So
Yeah.
I love the title
Exactly.
right away because can't we use that more than ever right now?
Exactly.
Lightening the fuck up.
Exactly.
Yes.
Especially right, Madison, with cancel culture and everything going on. It's like people can't wait to have the new topic of the day to be angry about. So I'm so glad you wrote this book.
Yes. And one of the chapters, which Neil, you've read the book, thank you so much, is about, it's called Time to Stop Being Offended, because everybody is trying to be offended by something and becoming a victim. But more than just being offended, I think it was important for me to write this chapter because people don't realize what being offended actually does to you. Your body goes into a fight or flight mode. So it's like all this stress, your stress hormones are being released. So that only ages you, it can prematurely kill you. So it's not healthy to be offended. And also, if you're going to be offended, you're choosing to be offended. And you guys are comedians. And I always laugh because when people go into comedy clubs and they're offended by a joke, it's like, what kind of narcissist are you that you made that all about you, not realizing that these jokes are written way before they hit the stage. They've been worked out. For you to make it about you just makes you a narcissist.
Right.
So
exactly.
people need to stop. And if they're offended, like, don't go to the comedy clubs. You don't belong there.
I love that idea.
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many times, like what you just said brings me back to a story I like to tell very frequently. This woman walked out of my club one day and I happened to, I don't know why, but I like to peruse the audience whenever I'm there.
Yeah.
And I happened to focus on her. She was laughing at every joke, every comedian that was out there.
Do me a favor, lay this next to the phone that she's talking about.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere, okay, she stopped laughing for a brief minute. And then she got angrier and angrier. At the end of the show, she comes out to me and she goes, I just want to tell you, I found that joke about autism extremely offensive, okay? And I don't think there's a place in comedy clubs for offensive humor like that. And then I said, I happen to be noticing you and watching you, as I do like to watch the whole audience, and you were laughing about the jokes on Jews, the Puerto Ricans,
Yeah.
crime in the street, mugging victims. So how do we determine ahead of time what is going to be the one thing that you're offended about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly going to be my point, that they're the judge and jury of what exactly is the offensive thing. Everything is fine by them except for the one thing they don't like. And we're supposed to know everybody in the audience's preference as to what, is acceptable and not. It's ridiculous. It's just become ridiculous already.
Well, it has,
Hey.
and it's they're choosing to be offended by that. But the problem is, I think, just the media and everything going on with such a divide. It's like people feel they're almost saying it's okay to be a victim. When you go into that victim status, oh, poor me, like your mental health is deteriorating. You're chipping away at your confidence. When you are strong and you believe in who you are and your convictions, there's less that can offend you. So if you find yourself easily offended, there's definitely some inner work that needs to be done. And I encourage people to do that. They can read my book, but I think it's so important now that people realize, like, hey, it's okay for somebody to not agree with you. It's okay
Yeah.
for somebody to think differently. It's not okay for you to attack them and to try to cancel them and be offended when it's really not about you.
So how have people in your life attempted to make you a victim, do you feel? Have you been maybe not victimized, but have people attempted to make you a victim in certain circumstances?
And
No, I
people
think
tried to cancel you, I guess. is the
Exactly.
word.
yeah, I was like, I'm not a victim. No, I mean, I've been very lucky, not yet. But I think that people are starting to really wake up to this whole cancel culture thing, and they're starting to fight back. And I forgot who it was, but they said, if you get canceled, you're only canceled if you agree to it. You don't have to agree to it. Look at all the people that they tried to cancel, like, for example, Joe Rogan. His career exploded after that. So sometimes I think we should, especially comedians, we shouldn't be fearful of being canceled. What we need to be fearful of is if we don't have the strength to fight back.
This is,
So
yeah,
don't
go
do
ahead.
anything that's like unkind. I mean, that just makes you an asshole. But if you're just doing something and you feel it's right and somebody chooses to be offended by it, don't let them cancel you. Don't give in to this woke mob, because people are waking up, and it can really help you. When you say,
Absolutely.
like, no, fuck you, I'm out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, this is very similar to another world that you were in a previous life, which is Wall Street, where
Yeah,
the old saying is, you don't lose money on the stock until you sell it, right?
exactly.
Just a
So
paper
you don't
loss,
lose
yeah.
money on the stock until you sell it, so don't consider yourself, the only way you're going to be canceled is if you allow it to happen. Same kind of concept, right?
Exactly. And I encourage everybody to do things that are out of their comfort zone, or do things that they don't like to do, or things or situations where they're like, I could be offended. Like, why don't you go experience it once? And then not only is it going to help you grow, but it's also going to make you realize that there's not that much to be offended by, and it's on you. I mean, listen, like, there's a lot of things that have been said to me that most people would say, oh, that's offensive. But because I choose to see the humor in everything, I find it hilarious. Like, people make fun of my face all the time in a funny way.
What's wrong? Listen, I've seen a lot of faces in comedy, and I'm looking at your face in the book. Like, what's funny about your face?
Well, I look very uptight. I definitely have a like resting rich face, not bitch face, but rich face. I look very
A
wealthy.
waspy face is what you're
Yeah, she
saying.
calls herself in the book. She calls herself a second wife look.
Okay.
She got a
Yep.
second wife look.
Trophy wife look.
Well,
right?
except for I'm not a trophy wife, because I'm a trophy that talks.
There
So
you
it
go.
hasn't worked out in my favor.
I'm definitely going to try one of your things where you say come out of your comfort zone, because I notice in the back of your book, it's time for you to, number one, stop chasing money. So that's
Yeah.
definitely out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, well, let's talk about money for a second, Madison. So you were in the financial world and then you left it and you said you had to give up your your high-rise apartment in the city and everything. So talk about like what money means to you these days. How have you been molded by, you know, living around all these financial guys, these guys who drive Ferraris one day, then the next day they're out in the street, and that kind of world. And then being involved in the comedy world where 99% of the comedians are broke essentially. And
Yeah.
now you're an author who's successful. So how do you relate to money these days? Has it changed since you got out, into the world
Yes. So
on
I
your
would
own?
say I would say when I went to Wall Street, the driving force behind that was to just get rich. And then I kept thinking like, oh, I'll prove everyone wrong once I'm rich, right? So I was chasing the money in a very unhealthy way. And so it was constantly a stress. I wasn't really doing what I love to do. I was just doing what I needed to get rich. And when I decided, okay, I'm going to go for my passion and give that a shot after, Wall Street didn't work out and then a brief e-commerce thing failed. I said I've got nothing to lose, and I went into comedy, but I didn't really do my due diligence because I didn't realize how difficult of a road and a long road it was going to be ahead of me. So my money, chasing the money, and all of a sudden I started to determine my own value based on my bank account. And as a up and coming comedian, my value was basically zero in my mind. And so it really chipped away at my self-esteem and confidence. And when you're not confident, it's hard to be on stage and put on a great show. You really need that confidence. So I have a very healthy relationship with money now. I figured out how to get out of that scarcity mindset and into that abundant mindset. So when I say to people, stop chasing money, don't do things just because it's going to get you rich. Do things because it fuels your soul. And it's not just picking anything that fuels your soul. Gardening might be it, but you might not be able to make money with that. Like, come up where you're going to find a solution and you want to create change in industry. So it's not chasing it, it's making it and creating like a better place for the world, because money's amazing and I want tons of it and I think all of us deserve it and there's plenty of money out there. It's just when that's all you're chasing is just the dollar figure, you're going to get lost and you're going to have this resistance that's going to repel it from you.
Right. I mean, that's why Neil and I are sitting in this studio today. We don't want to chase any money. I mean, right? That's it.
I'm done chasing
We
money.
want to do a podcast so we don't make any money. We don't want, this is why we're here.
That's why I went into that business.
That's why he went
See,
in.
our business model is very successful. We're not looking for money and we're finding that result actually.
And that's when money comes into you, because you're not putting
When
this
you're not
pressure
looking
around
for it,
it.
exactly. Well, most artists will say that you have to be in it because you love it, not because you're looking for money. And then the money comes. Money will come naturally.
Yeah, but I also think it's so important for people that are listening to this that you have to be realistic about those passions. So if your goal and desire and something that makes you happy is to drive a Ferrari and live in a mansion, your passions need to kind of align with that type of lifestyle. So you need to be realistic about it. Obviously the arts is amazing and you can make a lot of money, but the chances are very slim. So if it's very important for you to have a mansion and have that Ferrari, maybe you should find a passion that can more quickly get you to those goals with a higher
Yes,
success rate.
true. But the most successful comedians out there, like take a guy like for instance, two guys I saw one night at Gotham who popped in, Leno and Seinfeld, right?
Hmm.
They're basically both billionaires at this point. But what makes them happy is to get on stage, to go
Yeah.
back to their roots and do stand up. That's what
Yeah.
gives them the rush more than looking at, the numbers in their Schwab account or whatever account they use.
So you've done,
Exactly.
Madison, the corporate world. You went into the entertainment business with stand-up comedy, and now you've written this book. Is
Yeah.
there a plan in your head to tie in all of this stuff for your next project, or where do you think you go from here?
So I'm working on two other ideas for more books within kind of the self-help section. I'm also starting, through all my experience doing comedy and loving the stage, I'm going to be going into more of the public speaking, like inspirational, motivational speaking, where I can still use my jokes and my humor and be on stage, but it's just a little bit of a more healthy lifestyle for me personally. I'm not a late night person. I like to get up early in the mornings, which is very difficult for comedy. So I've been able to kind of grab my experiences and then launch me into the next, area of my career. So there'll be a lot of books. There'll be public speaking tours, along with creating reality television shows that I also really love to do. So I've got a couple of those in development. Hopefully, we'll see those very soon. But I'm just honestly like, I'm open to opportunity, and I think this is so important that people get rid of what I call tunnel vision, where it's I can only do this and I have to make this work and that's it. There's so much opportunity out there. So yes, I want to be an author, I want to be a public speaker, I want to be a reality TV show producer. But at the same time, if somebody came to me in a different industry and said, "Hey, I want your expertise and I want you to come, consult for me or work for me," if it's money, I'm like, you know what? Sure, let's embrace that opportunity. Let's learn about it, because money can come from so many different sources. So I don't think anyone should be closed off to anything, because you just don't know where that major opportunity is going to come in.
Yeah, it's very freeing to see yourself as a multifactorial kind of multifaceted entity, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that you're well grounded in terms of a lot of the regular comedians, regular, I don't know if that's the right word, comedians that I have talked to over the years. You actually have a game plan, and you have a plan of how you want to attack this. And first of all, I commend you, because a lot of comedians are not aware of the fact that probably one of the most successful areas of stand-up comedy is public speaking. There are comedians that nobody knows about, or very few people know about, that are making well into six figures, and all they do is corporate speaking events. They're making
Yeah.
$10,000 a pop, just doing these kind of events.
Oh,
So I think you're on
exactly.
the right track.
Yeah, and you know what? I know I'm on the right track only because it makes me happy. I get really excited about it. And so that's a good key factor. If you're doing something and you're not feeling the excitement, maybe you need to research it a little more. But if you're doing something and you just get that passion, that excitement, and that just adrenaline rush, like you're on the right path. So for me, I love money and I want to have as much of it as I can. But at the same time, I think my true purpose is to help people. And the richer you get, the more people you can help. So I definitely, everything I kind of do, I kind of looked back at all my, whether it's reality TV show projects or my books or speaking engagements I want to do. It's all about, improving people's lives. And that's my main passion. I think that's what gives me so much joy and happiness is being able to help people. So
Right.
hopefully I can help more comedians get out of their own way.
Well,
Exactly.
that's the problem. The more you try to do that, the more they'll get in their way.
Right. I'm like, stop overcomplicating this. You're telling jokes. Okay. Like, have fun with it, relax, go with the flow. More things will happen for you.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think we have to wrap up, but it's been great, really great having you as our first guest, Madison. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
I just
Thank you
want to
so
say the name of the
much.
book again. It's Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, a self-help guide with a side of humor by Madison Malloy. And you can get it on all the popular outlets like Kindle and Apple and Amazon.
Amazon, where else? Anywhere else?
Barnes and Noble.
BarnesandNobles.com. Will you be doing any autograph signings or book signings anywhere?
I should, yeah, I'm going to be doing one in Denver on the 8th. And then there'll be another one sometime in November. I'm just trying to kind of figure out that date. But they can follow me on Instagram at real Madison Malloy. And I'll be posting stuff there. And then they can also, I have a business self-help podcast as well. Every Thursday, a new episode comes out called Next to Madison. So you can listen to that as well.
You know what we could do when I'm back in New York? We could do a multiple book signing. Myself for my book and you with your book. We'll set
Cool.
up.
Wait, I got a book coming out too.
Okay.
I do.
The three of us could set up a table at Broadway Comedy Club, Greenwich Village Comedy Club doesn't
And
have
I read a lot.
doesn't have enough room, but Broadway will set it up, and we'll announce it and get some people buying the book and create some interest.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm
Our book will
open.
be ready in December. I'm doing a
Neil
book.
can help us unpack the book.
Exactly.
Perfect.
But don't put the shelf up too high, or I won't be able to read it.
Oh,
Thanks
that's
for joining
hilarious.
us, Madison.
Thanks so much, Madison.
Thank you guys so much, and I wish you all the best with this podcast. I know I have no doubt in my mind with you two, it's going to be a success. So keep rocking it.
Thanks, Madison. Thank you.
All right. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Yes.
Thanks. So that was Madison Malloy. What did you think of that? She was terrific.
She's
wasn't
awesome. She's so together, as you said, for a comedian. And who's had more experience dealing with, thousands of comedians than you?
Right.
You know what these guys are all about, what these people are all about.
Right.
You know that most of them, do not have the game plan that she had put together for herself.
Absolutely. So our show is called Fun. I think we've already changed it since the episode started.
Fun with Madison Malloy.
Fun with food and comedy, right? Or something along those lines. We'll figure out a title. Any current events we want to talk about?
A bad thing happened this morning.
What?
Pelosi's husband was attacked in his house.
By Nancy?
I got two comedians over here. No, seriously, that really happened this morning.
So this was a political type thing, or was it
might
a
have been
burglary?
politically
Who
motivated.
picked the wrong house?
I don't know. I think they got the right house. They were looking for somebody, but I don't want to get too political on this show. But it's come to the
No.
point where politicians are being attacked in their houses.
Well, I think we should get political maybe in our next episode a little bit. We don't have to pick sides, but we could talk about politics in general since election day is coming up. We ain't picking sides.
Right.
So don't wait for us to pick a side. We ain't picking sides.
No.
We'll lay out things, unlike all the media who gives you what their slant is. We're going to just lay it out there and let you decide what you want to do and let you make the choice for yourselves, since these elections are going to affect your life.
Exactly.
Okay, so to kind of wrap it up a little bit, Neil, we're going to be covering some politics for election day. Don't expect politics from us every week, folks. It's too tiring.
We could get into sports, though. I know you're a big Yankee
Yes.
guy, Al.
Well, we got a few minutes.
The thing is this. I'm kind of upset that the Philadelphia Phillies finished 17 games
Yes.
behind the Mets and the
Yes.
Braves,
And they're in the
and they're in the
World
World Series. So, and the Houston Astro cheating organization is the other team in the World Series.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I think baseball. One of my friends, Jimmy Williams from Sheepshead, he said that the World Series has become a tournament. It's not even like the best two teams anymore.
Yeah.
It's an elimination tournament at this point.
Yeah, well, the thing with the World Series is this. I'm a Yankee fan. I would have loved to see the Yankee fans in the World Series, but I'm also a Jew, and business is very important to me. And the World Series would have killed business for me. So I'm very conflicted.
Ambivalent.
And conflicted
Ambivalent.
every year.
You say conflicted. I say ambivalent. You say tomato.
Right. So while I would love to see my Yankees in the World Series and the Mets in a Subway Series with the Yankees would have been unbelievable, it also would have destroyed my business. On a Saturday night, I'd have 12 people in my club and 1,000 people in a sports bar.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I mean, the Dodgers won 110 games or something this year. They're not in. The Mets won 101 games. It's like, why go to a regular season baseball game? If
You're
it's
right.
not going to mean anything.
Right.
You
Well,
know?
it's
What's
like,
the
why
point?
watch a baseball game from the first inning? You can turn it on in the seventh inning and know whether you want to watch the last three innings or not.
It's sort of the way I feel about basketball, Al. I don't watch basketball until the last 2 minutes
Right.
because it's 90. It goes back and forth, and then the last 2 minutes you decide who's going to win.
Right. And the next morning on ESPN Sports Center, you can get the highlights. So who cares?
Right. So maybe we shouldn't do anything at all. Just
yeah,
watch-
maybe, you know what? Let's just go home now and
exactly.
Pinkies. Pinkies first. Then go home for a nap. Actually, you got to go back to Boca later. I'm seeing the show tonight.
Believe it or not, I'm not kidding. I
What are
have
you
to go
saying?
back to Boca too. I have to meet somebody in Boca.
Yeah.
After
What are you
I'm going to the Wick Theater to see
Oh, cool.
Milk and Honey. I'll do a brief review on that. Also tomorrow night, I'm seeing Travis Tritt at the Pompano Amphitheater, whatever that is.
Good.
So it's a full week of entertainment.
Travis Tritt is a country guy.
Yeah,
See, I'm not into country music.
I love that.
I can't get into
You
it. It's
should
all
have
the same
called
to me.
Travis
I don't
and
know what
told
it
him
is.
to
Yeah, it's all good.
I alienated some country music fans, I think. Just
That's okay. We're gonna listen, folks. First episode, but trust me, two Jews from Brooklyn. We're gonna alienate.
we'll
a lot
figure
of
it out. Though.
You know, we
figure
might
it out.
sound like we don't know what we're doing. We're under the radar though. We're testing out the waters here on our first show. Granted, our producer is probably sleeping by now.
I'm
Madison's
awake. I'm
on
awake
second
and well.
million.
Grant said,
Tuned in.
what did you say, Grant?
Awake and well.
Awake and well. Okay.
Yes. And
Our entire listenership is awake and well then.
don't worry, Grant. I don't know about Neil, but I've already come up with 36 ideas during the broadcast here of what we can do better next time. And
Most of them are
differently.
involving sandwiches.
And most of them are involving getting rid of Neil. I'm taking command.
Okay, perfect. I'll write that down.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So I mean, this turned out okay for a first episode. We
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
plan it all.
yeah.
No pre-production, no planning, no
No,
thought
we-
went into it at all.
No, definitely no thought.
I think that's the perfect formula.
Definitely had no thought in this. You know?
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.